This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing.
Just in general about him being able to wreck anybody in the division. And I think that really that fight with him and Tank gave him some confidence and made him believe that he can come and compete with anybody in the division. With that being said, though, I would love to see Devin Haney step up further in competition. Right. But I still think that this is a step up, though.
I mean, I guess it's a step in the right direction. Maybe it's just something I don't want to see, you know.
All right, now we have Shakura joining us here. Shakura, we're going a little bit into the first topic right now. So the first topic on the agenda right now that we're looking at is these new DAZN fight dates that we have. The first one up being, to me, I feel like it's a good test. You have Devin Haney against Gamboa, and that's set up in early, mid-November. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
Oh, I thought it was November 7th. But anyway, I'm upset about it because of just the fact that that would have been a fight that's close enough for us to try to attend. But for the fact that it's on the same weekend as the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame. So... I got to be there because the beautiful Dahlia Duran is getting inducted that weekend. So it's like we won't have the opportunity to go to this Haney fight. But just on the value of the fight itself, I mean, I want to just say that I'm not going to be impressed when Haney is able to win the bout against Gamboa. It's just not a fight you want to watch if you already know the outcome. You know what I'm saying?
So are you suggesting that you think that it's Devin Haney's fight to lose? I mean,
yeah, pretty much. That's how I feel. And I feel like, it's a name for his resume, and it's also like a litmus test type of fight for more so like comparison to Davis. Is he able to get Gamboa out of there before the 12th round? If he does, then most people are going to equate that to mean Devin Haney is better than Tank. So you know what I'm saying? Like, so you're looking at it from that aspect of you like comparing lightweights. But I mean, seriously, I just don't see this as a fight that he can lose unless he like comes in totally unprepared and stamina's awful and Gamboa has to have the fight of his life on top of that.
Yeah, I
So
mean that's kind of how I was feeling too. I mean, I was kind
yeah.
of beating around the bush, but yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
Well, I disagree. I disagree for several reasons. One of them being you guys thought Tank would walk through Gamboa. And even though Gamboa had issues with his leg or whatever happened in the fight, Gamboa put up a strong showing.
Was it a
That's one
strong
reason.
showing or was it a bad showing by Tank?
I don't think it was a bad showing by Tank. I think that Gamboa came on strong and he was able to compete and do some things that Tank hasn't seen yet. With that being said, though, Devin Haney doesn't have the type of power Tank does. He is yet to prove that. He is yet to prove that. He has went some rounds, a lot of rounds, with some fighters that were mediocre talent, and his power is not where Tank is, where Tank's power is at. So you talk about comparing the two, you really can't, because to me, I think Devin Haney and Tank are two different fighters.
Well, this will be the test to figure it out then, right? Because like I said, if Haney's able to stop this fight by KO, especially before the 12th round, which is when Davis did it, then we're gonna be able to say like, well, he did get rid of Gamboa before Tank was able to. And I'm with Lucas. I think it's more of a situation where Davis underperformed than it was about whether or not Gamboa performed like to the best of his abilities. I think it was more about Tank Davis training in Atlanta, there during the holidays. I think it was all about him not coming in at his best. And I think that's another reason why they're like having him train in Las Vegas right now is to make
Well,
sure he's on track and that he's really taking this fight to the max, as far as training camps is concerned.
well, people say that all the time. They want to sit here and compare what so and so did versus Gamboa based off of what the last person did. I mean, you still got people out here trying to compare what these guys can do against Gamboa and what Terrence Crawford did. So to me, that's overrated. I don't want to sit here and be like and judge the man off of based off of how long he lets Gamboa go or how competitive the fight is. I honestly think that Tank and Devin Haney are two very different fighters. I think that the training that they receive, even from Floyd, the advice that they receive, even from Floyd, is two different things because they're two different base fighters. I think that Haney is more of a finesse fighter, just like Floyd was, and I feel like that's really where his ceiling is. But I think Tank is a different animal. I think Tank is more of a Floyd, powerful Floyd. I think Tank has more power in his resume, more power in his attributes, so to speak, than Mayweather or Devin Haney.
Okay,
And I
so
think
so it sounds like we got 2-1. You actually expect it to be pretty competitive, but I assume you're still going to pick Haney
I mean,
when it comes down to it.
we're not closer to the fight. I want to hear,
All right.
and here's why. We're not closer to the fight, and this is why. I want to hear what's going on in the Tank camp first. I want to hear how he's been training, who he's been training with, who he's been sparring with, or in Devin Haney's camp. I want to hear him and Gamboa. I want to hear who they're training with, who they're sparring with, how they look. I'm going to make sure Gamboa doesn't have any ailments going into this fight. He's 100%. I'm going to see all that stuff before I predict a winner.
All right, let's take a look then and do the other DAZN announcement, which was Danny Jacobs versus
I got
Rosado.
it from here, Lucas. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. The next one is, and this one is later or mid-November actually on DAZN, but this one was just announced, and we finally have a partner for Danny Jacobs. It was highly speculated that he was going to fight Chavez Jr. We all can agree we're glad he's not, but this time he's facing Gabriel Rosado. Lucas, Gabriel Rosado is, a tough fighter. We've had him on the show. We've liked several of his fights that he's had. But what's your take on this bout?
He's not ever in a bad fight. Never. I mean, he's just that kind of guy that puts up that kind of an effort. With that being said, I mean, he's had a rough road. Now, his record is deceiving. He's 25-12-1. And those 12, he got thrown to the wolves early on. I mean, that kind of happens when you don't have, the high budget promoter and the great managers when you're coming up. But I think his first loss was to Angulo, and he wanted to avenge that loss. And you got to like the style that Rosado brings. So, will it be competitive? That's up for everybody else to decide. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be entertaining. No matter what, Rosado's always entertaining. And we already know the style that Jacobs brings. So it's going to be fireworks. For however long it lasts, it's going to be some fireworks.
Yeah, the interesting thing with me on this is the layoffs. The layoffs. Danny Jacobs hasn't been in the ring yet this year. And he's had a fight that he was trying to prepare for that got taken off the books. So I really want to see where he's at mentally, Plus, we haven't seen Danny Jacobs in the media at all. We haven't seen him promoting anything right now. We haven't seen him, period. So I'm interested in, one, seeing what type of shape he's in. Two, seeing what type of mental capacity he's set up for. And three, even seeing if he's even prepared for this fight. And go ahead.
I was going to say, Rosado's been out of the boxing game now for almost a full year, so he has not stepped in foot of the ring. So that's a long layoff.
Right, and then that's the other side of it. Rosado hasn't been in fighting form for a while now. He's actually taking fights with bare knuckle boxing, which is a totally different type of platform.
He was doing the BKB back when it was up, but which I actually liked his fight with Curtis Stevens. I mean, that was very entertaining. Clarence said they keep throwing Gamboa to the wolves. Crawford, Tank, now Haney. Sheesh, poor man.
But Gamboa wants that, though. I mean, I agree with you, Clarence, but Gamboa wants that because he was once at those guys' level.
Not only that, but it's a good payday. I mean, every one of them been a good payday, I'm sure.
But he does, and that's true, but he does come in to compete. You can't take that away from Gamboa. He competed against Crawford. He competed against Tank. And I'm pretty sure he'll go in and compete against Devin Haney.
I mean, so we will see here in about a month or so.
So, yeah. But the topic right now between Danny Jacobs and Rosado, again, is I'm interested in seeing how good and how entertaining that these guys can make it. I think that it'd be worth both of their while to try to make it a slugfest because the fans need it, but they need the fans more than we need them to fight. And that's hard to say, but that's true. They need us more than we need them at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while for both these guys. They're both, like I said, almost a year out of the ring, and they both desperately need back into action. But, a lot of people would say Rosado would be in a must-win situation, but I don't think so. Not the way Rosado fights, A loss for him isn't going to put him back any further. I mean, like I said, he's always entertaining, so he's always a draw. He has his own, fan base. I think no matter what, he'll get another big fight down the road. So,
Yeah, with Jacobs as well. I could see a rematch with Devin and Shenko. Something of that aspect. I could see a rematch even with Triple G. So that all is up for discussion.
I think Derevianchenko needs some time off before he starts taking on any fighters. Man, he needs a vacation and he needs a couple tune-up fights. Get a couple wins underneath him. He's had some tough fights lately.
Yeah. So Lucas, let's go in here and talk about this past Saturday's fight.
I'd love to.
Everybody, and I talked to a bunch of people, and they all went back and seen this fight. This was the Fight of the Year candidate, and I don't know how you're gonna top it. So I'm talking about in the 140-pound division, and we'll get into that division because that division surprisingly is stacked. But we'll get into that division here in a little bit. But it was at the 140-pound division. This one, I believe, was like a title eliminator. So I believe this was for like the number 1 ranked guy. And it was against Jose Zepadda and Barenchyk. I'm going to mess up the name, period. But it was like Barenchyk or something like that. Barenchyk. That's right. Barenchyk. Jose Zepadda and Barenchyk. Lucas, this was a war.
I mean, honestly, it lifted me up off my chair several times. And it highlighted something before I even get into it. Early in the first round, I think it was after the first round, they actually started to look at the instant replay, Rob, that we were going to talk about last week. But they quickly kind of just nullified that. That first knockdown for you that they called a slip, that was a knockdown, right? I'm not the only one?
So here's my take on it. And right, wrong, indifferent, this is my viewpoint. But I could see you not calling it a knockdown, and the reason why is because I felt like he was turned. I felt like he was turned away towards his back and somewhere in there before he actually fell down.
I don't know. To me, it was a knockdown, 100%.
I mean, yeah, and I see it, but I watched it. I watched the tape because of the replay. I watched it again. It looked like he turned him to me, and I felt like that's kind of why they didn't call it a knockdown. But the whole let's just talk about that briefly. So the Nevada State Commission has a new rule now on every one of their fights. They actually have an extra referee. In this case, on that night, it was Bird. Bird was the extra referee at ringside, and that referee is in charge solely of instant replay. And as I understand it, Lucas, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is instant replay for anything, right? If it's a knockdown, a foul, anything.
I mean, it could be. I think it's anything that would be fight impacting.
And that's the weird thing to me, though, is that there isn't really specifications behind it, right? They didn't specify if it's solely for knockdowns, if it's for fouls. They basically put it out there for any type of replay.
Right. I mean, in boxing, I think something drastic's going to have to happen. Like you said, a knockdown that's not ruled. Maybe to look at an intentional headbutt or intentional foul, something that would cause a loss of a point. Otherwise, I would say they're not going to bother with it.
Okay. So that being aside, that's new in the Nevada State Commission. I honestly think it's necessary. So go on with what your thoughts are about the fight in general, though.
I mean, I don't know what else I can say besides just wow. I mean, one of the better fights I've seen in a long time. And yeah, it may have been lacking some of the sweet science, but I don't think anybody cared that watched it. I echo Bradley. I mean, he was like, this is one of the best fights I've seen in a long time. And he said it was the best fight that he's seen live. I wish I saw it live, but man, what a fight. Zepadda gets all the credit for standing in there with Barenchyk. I mean, he was able to still box on the inside really well. Barenchyk, man, with that left hand, lead left hook all the time, and it was landing flush early and often. I'd love to see it again, honestly. I maybe give them a while because they did beat the crap out of each other. But I think this is a trilogy in the making. I would love to see a rematch, but I think Zepadda definitely did earn, a step-up fight and earn that title shot after that. So I think he definitely earned his number one, contendership at that point.
Yeah, Javi, thanks for joining us here. Real quick, just echoing on what Lucas said, Tim Bradley said that was the best fight he's ever seen live. And he kind of tried to compare it to him in
Providnikov.
Yeah, Providnikov. What are your thoughts, though? Do you think this was one of the best fights of all time up there, or what are your thoughts on this fight?
I wouldn't say it was the best fight of all times, but it was definitely brutal. It was something raw. It was something that was needed. You know what I'm saying? And it was just kind of like a shame that there was no audience, no public in there. Can you imagine the rush that would have been there, the wows and the woos and just the whole crowd energy into the fight? Because that was brutal, man. It was knockdown after knockdown. They were both hurting each other, and even the way that it ended, it was just dramatic. Drama in boxing usually makes for a good fight, and we already knew coming into the fight that there was going to be a good matchup. I expected either Ivan to brutalize Zepadda, or I was expecting Zepadda to box Ivan, and there was some of that, but it was just more like, let's throw boxing out the window, let's rumble in here. Let's just go toe to toe, and let's see who's the last man standing. That was brutal.
So I'm dying to get our fans' perspective on this fight here, but I want to kind of dip into another little topic here within this division, because I think that this division and the way that they go about their business transcends to what this fight was all about. And the reason why I say this is because these guys are fighting out of the 140-pound division. Guys, these two individuals and everybody in this division has already fought each other. Literally fought each other. And Lucas, this is what you always want to see, right? You want to see the best in the division fight each other. And these guys are doing it. So the reason why I say this is because my thoughts on this fight are it was do or die for both of them. And they both came into the fight like, look, you are not taking this away from me. So what you said with Barenchyk, when he came in, he started with those punches. He started out the gate throwing those punches. Mm-hmm. And he was fighting the southpaw. You usually see the other hand come into play when you're fighting the southpaw. They must have geared it into training with him. It comes down to his training that they geared that into him, that shot would be there and surprise him. And not only was he able to surprise him with that shot, but he did it multiple times. I lost count, guys. I lost count of the knockdowns because there were so many into this fight. But it wasn't just flash knockdowns. Each one of those knockdowns were brutal. You know what I mean? Each one of those knockdowns were brutal. So before we go into the next topic, which is within the division, though, Lucas, what are your thoughts on the actual knockout? Tell me what was going through your mind when you seen that knockout.
I mean, one, I was like, oh my God, his leg got trapped underneath. I felt it. I mean, it looked bad, but he kind of leaned into it too, which made it even worse. I mean, he did not see that punch coming. I think he actually thought he was avoiding, and he was clean. And that it landed flush. He did not see that punch coming at all. Oh man, I mean it's gonna be KO of the year as well as fight of the year.
Javi, what was going through your head when you seen that knockout? Were you concerned? What was going on? Give us something.
All right, so to before the knockdown, if you notice, Ivan had just dropped Zepadda, and Zepadda was kind of hurt. He wasn't wibbling legs, and he just came back, threw the left hand, and connect the flush. And like Lucas said, Ivan was leaning in, which that added more compact power to the punch, and it was with 8 ounces gloves, that you saw what happened. The man just literally crumbling there, and what was going through my mind, I was like, damn, I knew once the first round, I was like, okay, this fight is not going the distance. We already knew that. I think we can all expect that. But once the man dropped like that, and, we saw his hand, and, the fight is not moving for a good, 20, 15 seconds, it was concerned, because as much as we like the brutal stuff and as much as we like to see all this brutal stuff, we need to understand, like, at the end of the day, these people need to go home to their families. Like, I wouldn't like to be, as brutal as it was, I wouldn't like to be something that will kill it by having a tragedy happen. Somebody in a coma or somebody not being able to go home to their families in one piece. So a lot of people we need to understand. These people put a lot on the line. I work with these guys. I see what they do in the gym every day. So when they go up there, they're literally willing to risk it all. And I'm glad that he's in good health, because at the end of the day, it's like a lot of the boxers said it, yeah, we enjoyed the fight. We enjoyed it. We talked about it. But how many of us are really saying, is he okay? Is he going to be able to come back to it? Is he going to be able to continue his career? But, man, that was magic. We love drama. We love knockouts. They gave it to us.
I mean, it's a classic fight.
Yeah.
We're going to be rewatching that one for a long time.
I mean, yeah, just to put it in perspective from what Lucas said, this one right here is a fight of the year candidate. It's a knockout of the year candidate. But guess what? It's a round of the year candidate in that second round. Go back to that second round, guys, and that probably they're going to win one, if not possibly 2 of those awards this year. And this is something that we really needed in boxing. With that being said, my hat's off to Barenchyk. We heard, that they both went and checked out themselves at the hospital after the fight. And TV, in like a TV moment, they both were sitting side by side in the beds in the hospital, shaking each other's hand. We'll look on our website to try to get that visual for you guys at some point. But it was just a great moment in boxing. A great moment with 2 warriors putting their heart out. And like I said, we're about to get in the thick of the division, and the division explains why they put this type of performance in. Again, Lucas, any of our fans shared any of their opinions before I go further?
Nope. All quiet right now.
Clarence, I'm going to look for you on this one. I'm going to call you out, buddy. I know you got somebody at 140. So, guys, discussing the 140-pound division, this is why I think this division is one of the craziest that people are overlooking. You have Josh Taylor, who's undefeated at number 1. Jose Ramirez, who's undefeated at number 2. Now, those are 2 big names, not just in the division, but in boxing right now, because of what they've proven, what they've done, what they actually proved on the resume and in the ring. But then you look at the rest of this class. You have Regis Prograis. You have Jose Zepadda, who you just seen step up to the plate. Maurice Hooker, who was a huge prospect just a year ago. Then we just seen Victor Posto have a good showing out there in the division. Ivan Barenchyk, who, I feel like we all agree, deserves another shot at Zepadda, because that could be a hell of a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
You have an unknown fighter in Jack Cattrall, but he is undefeated, but he needs to step up in competition. But, look who we have here at number 9. Jose Pedraza. Guys, this is a hell of a division. And as I mentioned before, these guys face each other. They face each other. And on any given day, just like football, Lucas, on any given Sunday, these guys could beat the hell out of each other on any given night. Lucas, your thoughts on this division?
I mean, it's nothing but great fights to be made. Like I said, I would love to see Barenchyk again no matter what. I'd love to see Zepadda no matter what. There's a lot of interesting things you can do. I'd love to see Barenchyk Pedraza. It's the first thing that popped out in my brain. But you got Josh Taylor and Progress. I mean, there's just so many people. There's so endless matchups that if the promoters work right, I mean, this is one that we were talking about with the Super Six. I think, would really work out well. I can dream, can't I? We doubt these things happen, but I think this would be one of the perfect divisions to do it in.
I think they did it already, no?
No, that's true. They just recently did it,
that's
but
why Josh
you could just go right back. Yeah, just go right back. Yeah.
Throw Cepeda in there, throw Pedraza, and throw these whole big players in there. Definitely, that's what I'm saying. Like, again, I'm gonna beat this horse again, right? That dickhead that said that boxing is dead has no idea, because it's not only the 140. We were just talking last week about the 154. We can mention a bunch of 160s. Then the heavyweights back. Even the 135s with Lomachenko, Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia. So boxing is pretty stacked. The divisions are pretty strong. Yeah. And now with everything going on, the promoters know, like, there's no more mismatches. The fans are like, no. Give us what we want, and this is the matches that we want. This is what happens when you match the top guys against the top guys. We get this type of fireworks. We get this type of fights that get the fans rolling and talking. I've seen people that barely talk about boxing were telling me that, bro, have you seen that fight? Have you seen the fight? Like, yeah, of course I did. I did that. I'm surprised you saw that fight.
You know what? People were pulling that up. We talked shit before about ESPN Plus and those apps, but you got to give them credit, because that fight was available the next day, days after, and people, after hearing that, you know what I'm saying? After hearing what happened, it went off like a bomb, guys. Because the same thing happened to me, Javi. People reaching out to me that don't normally do it, asking, "Have you seen that fight?" And I usually don't do this, but when I seen what was happening from round one, I took the fight into the living room, man, and made the whole family gathered around to watch it, because, man, my sister loves the fisticuffs and all that going on. She wants to see the action, man. That's what really sparks your interest in boxing, not MMA, not UFC. Boxing is just two people going toe to toe, two warriors going toe to toe like that. We don't care who ends up at the hospital. We don't care if somebody ends up in the morgue. We just gonna lay it all on the line. And that's what you love to see. But here's the reason why I want to bring it back to this division. Because just what you said, Javi, you have great divisions out there with great competition, but this division is all fighting each other right now. This is the only division. Really, it is the only division. And we did have a Super Six, and that makes a key difference. But guys, this is the only division that the elites fight the elites in this division. Only top 10 fighters are fighting each other in this division. And as it seems, it's going to continue. And why I say that? Because it's not on the books yet, but talked about next, we're going to have Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez. Yeah. So this division right here is one that I want all of our listeners to pay close attention to. I want you guys to pay close attention to, because these fights are just going to get better and better.
Yep, definitely. And I think we see it already. Like, I think with everything going on, the promoters understand what's at stake. And yeah, the numbers of boxing have been declining. People are getting sick of seeing mismatches, basically, when you already know who's going to win. And even the champions, Lucas Man, Danny Garcia, when he fought Rosado, I don't think he can pull those type of moves anymore. I think now they understand, like, okay, yeah, I want to make the most money, but at the same time, I need to also build my legacy. Where With before, it was more like, okay, I'm gonna just take tune-ups fights and make the most money, milk this belt. But and it's not like it's gonna happen all the time. But eventually, they need to understand, like, we need this type of fights. Nah, the number one guy fighting the number 20 guy.
Right.
Especially
exactly.
now more than ever with COVID. I mean, it's kind of put a damper on the sport.
Yeah. I think part of the reason why the UFC is gaining a lot of momentum and a lot of fans is because they match the number 1 against the number 2, the number 3 against the number 4, and the top 10 guys are fighting each other. There's no way around. I don't think these guys take tune-up fights neither. So I think the fans appreciate that.
I think it's easier to control because it is just one company. I mean, that would be like just Top Rank or, just PBC. And like you said, PBC, I mean, they can mix and match with their welterweights really well. They can go Danny Garcia Spence. They can go, Spence, with, goddamn it, Porter. But they got so many matchups that they can do that they can actually do that and pull it off. I think it would have to be somebody like a PBC to try to be the UFC. It's just, it doesn't seem to work for boxing. I'm not exactly sure why, but the PBC is trying to do that. I think they're trying to kind of copy the UFC format, and it's just not working out for them.
I mean, that's an interesting topic. I would definitely love to cover in a rapid fire, maybe coming up.
Clarence said, "The hell with the UFC." Look, I'm not big on MMA.
Right.
I do like to watch, certain fights. I will check out certain MMA fights, but overall, I'm not like just turning into any UFC card. It's not like that. Clarence, we're more talking about just the matchmaking that goes into the UFCs a little bit better.
Clarence, coming soon, I want to touch on that topic, possibly in rapid fire. You make a good point because we don't like the UFC either, but we're gonna make a point of that possibly in rapid fire.
So I mean, maybe you two know, but I do want to touch on just something real quick right now while we're talking about this. What is with the UFC like? So they can create their own belt. So in boxing, are we able to have a PBC belt? Can you be the premier boxing champion?
And be recognized?
Yes.
See that
can they make their own title?
That's the question. See, you building rapid fire up for me already, which I like. But let's go ahead and touch on that now. I'm fine with it.
I don't know if they can, honestly. I mean, you got too many belts already and too many commissions chipping in, so there'd be a lot of people missing out. But here's the thing is, I mean, yes, it puts more prestige for like a WBC title, but if they can, I don't know if they can, but if they can make their own title, eventually that could actually be more valuable than the WBC, especially if you're doing it correctly and having your own rankings and stuff. My only thing is I don't know if PBC is big enough to do that.
I mean,
go ahead, Javi. I got my idea. Go ahead.
I think one belt that is somewhat recognized, but it's not really coming from a sanctioned body, it would be the Ring Magazine belt, where it's given to this.
Right.
It's been around for some time, where it's not coming from the WBC or any other ABC bodies, but it is recognized as usually you get that when you're unified or when you're the top guy of your division.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just as a reference, I guess, to my man Clarence. We're not talking UFC here. I just use that as an example. But I think it could be possible. I heard rumors of that they were talking about that. I think Dana White too, when he was trying to jump into boxing, he was saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna make my own belt," blah blah, saying the fact that it's so easy to give out belts like it's popcorn. But at the same time, I think with the right management, with the right moves, it might make sense. But with so many belts nowadays, I will hold on that idea. I think let's just keep it. Matter of fact, instead of adding belts, let's take away some nonsense belts, right? I'll suggest that. Let's go back to the days where it was only one main belt, one main belt holder, and then guys had to climb their way up to claim that title. Not get it on the mail, not get it because you're not getting the right makings, or the guy that got it is gonna be promoted to Casanova champion, so he don't fight the regular champion, and all this silly stuff is going on. That probably the casual fans don't understand that, but for us hardcore boxing fans, it kind of turns us off because it's like we see the games being played, and we see the promoters and networks putting business first and then the sport. Where us as fans, we want sports first and then business. Because at the end of the day, everything is money, but give us what we want. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
All right.
And they could air out the rankings. You know, UFC will have the rankings, basically able to tell you who's where. And, you know, boxing, I don't think I've ever seen WBO rankings, WBA, WBC, any rankings on any network saying, hey, you know, this is who you could be seeing up next. This is who we believe is number one. But, you know, if PBC had it, they could run the show. I mean, honestly, a monopoly for boxing might not be a bad thing. Clarence says, Dana White always have something to say about boxing, but then turn around, his pay-per-views are the same night as boxing.
Yeah, he did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Lucas, you made a great point. I'm going to answer your question to a T, Clarence, because Lucas made the point already. It took them a while, them meaning the UFC, Dana White, it took them a very long time to create a ranking system, right? And then when they built the ranking system, they're the only people that provide the rankings. So what they say as far as the rankings go is the actual fighters' ranking. So when they did that and built that, the UFC went higher. The fan base went higher because they're now able to market a fight as the number 2 guy versus the number 1 guy, or the number 3 guy versus the number 5, or the champion against the number 1 guy. You're able to see that on paper, and guess what? That's the legitimate ranking. Why? Because they own that ranking system.
Yes.
The issue in boxing is you don't have that because, like Lucas just said, you might have the WBC ranking. You might have a WBA, IBF ranking, Ring Magazine. ESPN has a different ranking system. You have all these different ranking systems. Therefore, you can't market this is the number 1 guy against the number 2 guy. You have to put an asterisk behind it and say, oh, this is the WBC ranking.
Yeah, like it's a good thing and a bad thing all in one. Because
it's a bad thing.
Well, no, think about it.
It's a bad thing.
Think about it. UFC does not have like a unified title holder. You will not see a UFC person versus like what the hell they have, Strikeforce? I don't even know anymore.
They don't have.
They used to have WEC.
They don't have anything no more. They don't have anything no more.
There's got to be another one. I'm sure there's Strikeforce or some other littler one.
Strikeforce got bought out by the UFC.
Okay, but there's got to still be a small
bought out by the UFC.
I know.
They all got bought out by the UFC.
Not all of them.
There is Bellator.
There you go. So Bellator. Are you ever going to see a Bellator fighter fight a UFC fighter? No.
To be honest, no, because Bellator has former UFC fighters.
No, because they never co-promote. They do not co-promote, and they will not co-promote. UFC is MMA to most people, but boxing is very wide-sprung. So, I mean, our champion is actually a little bit more of a legit champion than even a UFC champion, because certain champions in boxing will be able to go and fight whoever. Boxing really has one. The only difference is now there's 4 committees. So in a way we have 4 different champions.
No, break that down, please. Break that down a little bit more when you say that. Break that down a little bit more when you say that.
Which part do you mean? I mean, the fact that we have the champion breakdown, is that what you mean?
When you say there's a legitimate champion, what do you mean?
Well, I think there's more of a legitimacy to me when it's saying, you know, out of all of these things, I am the champion. So, yes, I mean, we have different champions. We have 4 different committees with 4 different ranking systems that are recognized, at least for the world championships. Whereas UFC is basically like, hey, I'm UFC. Now, to those that don't understand how the sport works, that's basically saying, hey, I'm the PBC champion or I'm the top-ranked champion. Like, that seems even cheaper, right, than saying, hey, I'm the WBC, WBA, WBO, IBF.
Okay, so I
You see what I'm
understand.
saying? It's
I
one
do,
person for a whole sport versus one person for one company.
right, and that's my problem with it. And here's why. Here's where I'm going with that. My problem with that is for if you said there's one person for the whole sport, the fucking organizations don't mean shit. Pardon my French, guys, but it doesn't. The organization that you're from doesn't mean anything. If you want to be that one person, you have to cross over and fight. You get what I'm saying? Period. You have to cross over and fight them. It takes the organizations out of it. It takes the rankings, the other rankings out of it. It says, this is who we recognize as the champion. This is who we recognize as number one, number two, number three. And if you want to take that, if you want to earn that shot, you need to cross over and fight them. Or you need to take, period. You need to cross over and fight them. I would prefer that over all this BS with this is who's ranked in this category or this WBC. This is who's ranked in the WBA. And then you're able to cross over different rankings to get that title without having to face anybody else.
Yep.
And that's the reason why I feel like, to answer Clarence' question, yeah, we don't like the UFC and MMA and the way they do things, but they have it figured out somewhat. And that's how they have it figured out, is to say, if you're not recognized by us, one division, one company, you're not that ranking. And if you want to be that ranking, then you have to cross over and come and fight the guy to take that title.
Right. But haven't you noticed sometimes also that with boxing, a lot of these rankings, it's not really because they earn the ranking, it's because of their name. You know, sometimes it's a high profile name and that's it. Look at, for example, well, the thing that comes to me right now is, for example, Sergio Martinez, Maravilla, right? He just came back from retirement, right? And now the man won a fight against probably a F+ fighter. Now he's ranked between on the top 10. So that's the bullshit. That's exactly what we're talking about. Now, the other guys that been working, grinding to earn the shot, to earn the spot, they all get forgotten because Maravilla, which a great champion, he already had, he built his legacy, but he gets to jump into the ranks because of the name, because of the promoters, the sanctioning bodies, the networks know that there's money to be made there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's the bullshit.
And if he came back and beat somebody that's like, an actual threat, a decent fighter, I think we would all be like, hey, rank him. But that wasn't the case.
Right. And that's what I want to explain, Lucas, is that's the difference between the UFC and what they're doing and what boxing is doing. Because to exactly what you just said and what Javi just said, the only way the UFC would rank him in the top 10 is if he beat a top 10 fighter that they recognize as a top 10 fighter.
That's the way it should be, my man.
And that's the way it should be. So I wanted to touch on that because, Clarence, we don't like the UFC and what they're doing. And then you have monopoly rules out there, which obviously they don't give a fuck about, pardon my French, but they don't, because they're obviously buying out these companies and building a monopoly for themselves. But it works in this sport, in this arena, because I want to make a fighter cross over and fight the best and not be able to take on Joe Smo in the division because the Ring magazine ranks him at this rank, but he's not world-renowned ranked.
Mm-hmm. And I think they kind of have to keep buying these people out, because if there is a lot of these companies like Strikeforce, Bellator, it makes their legitimacy of their title mean a lot less. I mean, every one of these smaller places have their own little titles. It's it kind of means nothing, especially when you're talking about smaller ones like Bellator. I think UFC, obviously, your belts are going to matter a lot more just because you have so many fighters that are underneath you. But for smaller companies like that, I mean, like, what would it mean to have like a top-ranked championship, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
And
nothing.
the last thing I'm gonna say about it, and I'm done. The NFL has one NFL, MLB one MLB, NBA one NBA. Why can't boxing just have one organization, one league, just like the rest of these sports, where they all compete and gather rankings and have to fight to compete to be the best?
I think it can. I think it's just a lot of money, man. Boxing has a lot more worth, I think, than people give it credit for, and it's so worldwide and so everywhere. I mean, you can go anywhere in the world and find a boxing gym. Maybe not a high-class one, but you can go anywhere in the world and find a boxing gym. Boxing is everywhere.
That's right. And talking about that, I want a big shout out to Westbury Boxing, New York. Just since we're talking about that,
All right.
I think also part of that would be that there's a lot of money in boxing, right? And I don't think there's a lot. I mean, and the other sports, they mainstream, the ones that you mentioned, the NFL, MLB, of course. But when in boxing, we understand that boxing has never been organized. The whole thing about boxing is chaos, drama, and just complicated stuff, right? Now, when there's a lot of money to be made, there's a lot of funny business. So that's what's going on with boxing. There's a lot of funny business. You got fighters talking about like, oh, you're on the other side of the street. Oh no, I'm on this side of the avenue. Oh, hold on. Wait, how many followers you got on Instagram? Oh, nah, you're not at my level. I got 2 million followers. You only got 50 followers. Like, you got all this funny stuff going on, when in reality, all we want is the top 10 going against the top 10.
Yeah, and I'm gonna throw a shot out there just because you did it, Javi. But you know what? It's like that in media. It is absolutely in boxing. It's like that in media, and I feel like UFC does it differently. UFC looks at the content and the merit of the content that you're pushing out. Are you telling the truth? Are you being genuine? Whereas in boxing, it's about your fans, your Twitter account, how many followers you have, how many people that you can bring to the arena. Lucas, how many times have we seen a fighter who is no good? And you know where I'm going with this. We've seen it in Chicago. Seen a fighter that's no good, that bought asses to the seats, that got a mainline draw on a fight on ESPN that had no reason being there.
Yeah.
Right, I put you on the spot. Okay, I did.
I don't know.
We've seen it. We've seen it. And any other media outlet can tell you they see it all the time. We see fighters getting draws in fights that they have no business being. These are fighters that ain't even Golden Gloves fighters. These are damn near amateurs that went pro because they have a little bit of money, get pro fights, have no business being there, and get draws because of the money.
Boxing just needs better promotion. I think I say it every damn week, and I feel like I'm beating that to death, but boxing is not getting the promotion it needs. It needs to be everywhere again. And how do you do that? If I'm, Top Rank or PBC or Golden Boy, get somebody like a reality TV show, okay? Something else. But you barely hear about fights. You barely see any fight posters. You barely see any fights coming up. They got rid of Friday night fights. You don't see up-and-coming fighters anymore. It used to be every Friday. And if not, we had, Show Boxing Next Generation. We had HBO Boxing After Dark. You don't see none of this anymore. So really, unless you're somebody, you don't get put on a card. Or if you're lucky enough to get, the couple of fights on the undercard of a decent fight enough to be aired. But that amount, that little time slot is very tiny now. And boxing's just not being wise with its time. I'm sure that ESPN would probably love to bring back Friday night fights.
But I'm gonna add this.
Say what, Javi?
I'm saying I think they have the budget to do it too if they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, come on, it's owned by Disney. Of course they got the budget.
And then you understand that, like, when HBO gave up on boxing, right? I think DAZN tried to pick up those pieces, but they focused so much on the money that they were willing to put a clown show. And now look at them. Now their own games just backfire on them because now their cash cow, the guy that they wanted to lock in to make money, is suing them because of their funny business or because they want them to do things a certain way. When I think they're more concentrated on business money, revenue, than providing the fans what they want.
Yeah, I think DAZN went hard for like the huge pay-per-view payoff. I think they should have went for competitive matches first, tried to get some viewership first, and instead of just throwing all this money at a problem that it ended up biting them in the ass in the long run.
Yeah.
So let me tell y'all this. Disagree with me or not?
Clarence says he would bring back HBO boxing. Sorry, go ahead. And yes, I want HBO boxing to come back.
Clarence.
I don't understand. Like, why are the announcers for HBO not getting picked up? Where's Lampley?
I'm gonna tell you the issue.
I need some crying in my life. Oh, that was an amazing fight. I need it. I need Lampley back.
I'm gonna tell you the issues, and y'all are gonna disagree with me, and it's beautiful and it's fine to disagree with me with this. But I'm gonna tell you the problem, and this is why they can't build a reality series that is worth a damn. And you're gonna disagree with me, but that's okay. They can't build it because the reality of the shows and everything that they build on the 24/7s, on the all access, everything, the main focus is on boxing. The mainstream media, the mainstream people don't just want to see that. They want to see bling. They want to see money. They want to see all these facades, all the entourage, all that shit, all the bling bling. They want to see all of this. They want to see the other part of, they want to see the luxurious part of the lifestyle. They don't want to just focus on the boxing. They want to focus on the other shit behind the scenes.
But I mean, that's exactly why like boxing was so big back when Ali and Frazier. I mean, Ali kind of caused boxing to be everywhere because he was everywhere.
And Mayweather exploited it.
Yes,
exactly.
You have to use that.
Exploited it. So that's why
you have to use your celebrity
to the forefront.
And who do we have as a celebrity? We don't have many as boxing aficionados. Who do you have? The biggest name is Canelo, and that motherfucker don't speak English. I mean, he can't really be out, on the streets just, chatting it up like Ali did, So
I'm just
very
telling
limited.
you, that's what we're missing. That's what we're missing, and that's why the reality shows are to the forefront and all of that, because that's what we're missing. Because when 24/7 was the highest ranked, and y'all saw it, when it was the highest ranked show on HBO, it was because of Floyd Mayweather.
I mean, yeah. Let's be honest. I mean, Pacquiao and Floyd kind of carried boxing for a long time, and I think we're struggling now. The sport as a whole is struggling to find its footing and its next star. Now, we definitely have talented people, but we just don't have that over-the-top celebrity. And the sport needs it to survive. It really does. Now, am I saying it's going to die? No, but I'm saying it's constantly keeps getting pushed back, and this is part of the reason. We need that over-the-top celebrity. We need that McGregor. We need that Mayweather. We need that Pacquiao. We need somebody like that, and those people are done now. I mean, it's over with for them. Canelo may be tied up for who knows how long, and like we already said, he's not able to even really, speak English very well. He does speak a little, but we need that over-top celebrity to sell the sport, sell himself, because guess what? Boxing doesn't sell itself anymore. It just doesn't.
Yeah, I think that persona, we need a personality that's gonna, bring the attention of the fans But I was wondering, and I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to get back to this, but I was wondering, you guys, since you guys watch a little more UFC, do you see a constant pattern and repetition of fucked up decisions, like just like bogus judging scores and just things that are so disgusting that they leave a sour taste in your mouth? I don't know if that's in another sport, but honestly, I think that's also part of the problem because myself, after what happened to Golovkin and Canelo, the first fight, I was literally one of the people saying, I'm done with the sport, man. It's just not fair. And of course, they're protecting the cash cow. And again, it's about money, and then the sport. You know, I was wondering if that's going on in the UFC or because when that happens, I'm sure if it happens in UFC, a lot of fans are gonna get turned off. You know what I'm saying? And eventually, are gonna just walk away from it.
I gotta admit that I don't really watch enough to probably get that, but I have enough friends and family that watch it that do say that they need to adopt a different point system than boxing because it's essentially the same point system.
And it does happen, and it does cause a ruckus within their fans. But the only difference is that they have with Dana White to get on top of that. And if you have the, so to speak, commissioner, whatever you want to call him, of the sport, saying it was a bogus decision, then people tend to get behind that. And that's how they're able to get on top of that because he goes on top of that and then he orders an immediate rematch or something, so to speak. Again, they have more control over their organization than the sport of boxing. So that's how they're able to get around the decision part. But I want to say this. It's coming, y'all. It's coming. There's going to be a star out there. There might be a star out there right now that we haven't seen that is above Floyd Mayweather status, that is going to bring this sport, all flashiness, all everything to the forefront. And it's going to happen. And it's going to bring the sport to a new level. We're all wishing that it happens, Lucas. But the sport hasn't survived so long for a reason. It's going to happen.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
So let's move on. Let's move on to the next topic here real quick. And again, these are just really a few housekeeping announcements type of situations. But I want to hear your guys' reaction to Deontay Wilder finally announcing that he's done with Breland. We spoke on it before. You guys didn't like it at the time. He did wait, Lucas. What's your reaction to this stuff?
I always have mixed emotions kind of when a fighter leaves his manager after, a loss. It really depends on the loss, but I don't know. I mean, the most recent loss for Wilder didn't really seem to be Breland's fault. I mean, he was off to begin with. I mean, to me. So, and he's gotten so far, so you're really holding him up for this one loss. You're gonna let him go off that, and it's just, I don't know. That's not enough. I'm gonna use Fonfara, okay, as a perfect example. When he got knocked out by Joe Smith Jr., he blamed all that on Sam Kalina and got rid of him immediately. Like, you had him hurt, but because you forgot to the basics and to block and to watch your hands when you're coming back, I mean, you blame that on your trainer. No, that's your own fault, He ain't in there for you. He can't fight for you.
Yeah, and Hobby, everybody was trying to make sense of this. So all of the photos, everything that went out with this announcement was all showing the decision when Breland stopped the fight. Right. Do you think that has something to do with it? I mean, it is a long time after the fight. Really, what do you think happened, and what's your opinion on this?
I mean, we already. I hold my opinion from the beginning when he said it himself after the fight that he was going to get rid of Mark Breland because of he didn't like the fact that he threw in the towel, that he's a warrior and all of that. I get the point, and at the beginning, I think I think we said maybe the emotions, it's the reaction to his first loss, and he might be having mixed emotions, whatever. But after all this time, that he decided to finally announce it, which probably already happened.
Yeah.
He just made it official just recently. He probably all this time, Mark Breland wasn't involved. And knowing that the fight date is approaching, then he said, he knows he has to come out and make it official. Now, to me, I always said it. We all love victories. We all love to win, but it says a lot about a man when he's defeated, when how he takes defeat. Now, I don't think for one moment that Mark Breland was trying to jeopardize his career. In a way, he took him there. He was there with him since day one, and because they have this little, a stone a little rock on the road, he decided to get rid of him. To me, that screams trying to find a guilty person, trying to
scapegoat
gaming game, and point the finger because you're not the better person to say, you know what, it's not even about him. He actually looked out for me because Wilder was pretty much knocked out on his feet. So he was like, you know what, why would I gonna let my fighter take more punishment when there's no need for that? He can live for another day, revenge his loss, and build his legacy. But no, I think his pride is getting the best of him back when he announced it, right now that he's made it official. And it says a lot about him, And this is the same dude that was just saying, I want a body in the ring. I want all this crap, all this caca talking.
Mm-hmm.
When you put that shit out there, it comes back to haunt you. And I'm sure a lot of fans probably don't mind that he did that. But like I said, I work with the pro fighters here, and I see their bond, the connection that they have with the trainer. And, they work in a lot of different things. So once you build a connection, not for 1 year, too, a whole career that he did, 30-something plus knockouts, whatever. To let go of that person, it's kind of like what Tyson Fury did when he let go of the Davidson dude. I don't know why he did it, but I don't think he did it after a loss. He just split after a win, which is like you can say, okay, maybe he's looking for a change. To me, this screams like an excuse, and he's trying to put the weight on Breland when in reality, Breland, like Lucas said, Breland couldn't fight for you, and he actually saved you from unnecessary punishment that probably could have jeopardized your career for the years to come.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't think anybody would have blamed him if he cut Breland, if Breland had, thrown in the towel, mid-fight or when it's competitive, But the fight was no longer competitive. Only thing you could do, Wilder, was eat punishment. And only thing, really, Breland did was save you. We do have some comments here. Clarence says, I think he was feeling some type of way and people might have been in Wilder's ear. I'm sure that's true.
Yeah, I think Paulie said it too.
Yeah, Dale people, a trainer is always as good as long as a fighter is winning. Then when he loses, there goes the loyalty. The question is, who will replace him?
Bingo.
We see there.
And that's what I want to touch on. Because, Lucas, you do it often. When a fighter loses one fight, now granted, this is his first fight that he actually lost on paper. So when a fighter usually loses their first fight, they have to look at everything and what they've accomplished so far in their career. And I know I've heard Lucas say it often, but and other people have said it too. Other professionals have said it. There are some things lacking in Deontay Wilder's repertoire. There are some issues there. He may need to go back and get a different trainer to get a different outlook and improve on those things, because Breland hasn't done it.
Nah,
That's the first thing.
One, I think Wilder's already... He's the fighter he's going to be. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Javi will disagree with me. I want to see. But, I mean, to me, Wilder's already the fighter he's going to be. Now, yeah, you can add subtle things, but what are you going to do? I mean, he's not going to all of a sudden become a defensive fighter. He's not really going to change his style very much. The only thing you can do is, like I said, small little changes. I mean, he's already the fighter who he's going to be. It is not changing very much. I don't know what you plan on adding already to a fighter who is 34 years old. I mean, he's going to be starting his slide down the mountain here pretty soon. So,
and let's be honest, guys. And by the way, Lucas, I agree with you 100%. But let's be honest here. We knew coming to this that Ortiz kind of exploited that Wilder can be outboxed. Ortiz exploited the fact that Wilder really doesn't really fight good going backwards. And pretty much the only thing that he has going on for him, not that he's not a good fighter, but he probably relied too much on his power when that probably backfired too. Now, of course, maybe a fresh air will bring them some things, some subtle things, some small changes here and there, some adjustments. But at the end of the day, there's not much you can change in a fighter, And to me, basically what I see in the gyms here is more about the chemistry that you have with that trainer. It's more about the bond that you build with that person. Because it's not just that you go in fight night with that person. You have a whole training camp. You trust in this person with a bunch of stuff that, that doesn't get the headlines and people don't get to see. So for you to let go of a person that actually had your best interest, he probably knew that this was going to happen, but he decided to put his health first. Because he said it too. He said, well, he knew it, that I didn't want my fight to be stopped. So Breland knew that he was probably going against this, silent rule that they had. But the bond that they built, that friendship, that brotherhood, he did not want to see his men basically die in that ring. And Tyson Fury is no small guy. You know what I'm saying? So I think, I don't know, he makes his own decisions. Personally, I see it like, is if he doesn't accept the fact that it was him that messed up and try to blame him, there's not much you can correct. For you to correct something, you have to get off the denial, get back to the drawing board, and analyze within yourself and see, well, this is what I did wrong, this is what I could do better. But when you play in that blaming game, you put in that way on somebody else. So that means that you're not ready to move on and make the changes that you're probably going to need.
Yeah. And I mean, it could actually be really, really bad for him. I mean, Breland leaving could be one of the worst things. You never know. Certain people mesh well, and I think he really meshed well with Breland for a long period of time. One fight, and then he lets him go. I mean, we've seen it before. I mean, look, Kirkland and Wolf, what happens every time? Kirkland left Wolf. No. This could be a similar thing. I mean, I don't know.
Surprise. I disagree with both of y'all.
Hold on here. I'll let you do that, Aaron. Just a second. Clarence continued, having a different trainer won't change nothing if you still fight the same way. There was snakes in the camp. Hellfire everyone's ass.
Surprise, surprise, I disagree with you all. Just what you're saying, at this age and this type of fighter, is he going to change as a fighter? No. But there are those few quirks that you can change and make him look like a different fighter. And that's what he needs. So at this age, he needs a little bit of just one or two new defensive quirks to add in that game, and he look a hell of a lot better. Hell of a lot better. The chemistry and all that he had with Breland, that's gone, in my opinion. That's gone. And a loss changes all of that. And it does. No. And the simple fact that Breland doesn't train anybody else. He, as far as world-class training goes, he's not a world-class trainer. You get a world-class trainer, and then he's going to give you a few tidbits that you never thought of that are already in your repertoire that you can add. I absolutely think this is great for him to switch trainers. Now, with that being said, to what you mentioned earlier, Javi, the fight date is not closing in, and that's the next situation. The fight date for December 19th is now off the books, and it's now TBA. Guys, does this fight happen? Yes or no? Just simple yes or no.
This year?
Or next?
No, it has to happen. They have the rematch close. So, yes, it's going to happen. It's just probably not this year.
Yeah, I agree. It's got to happen. It's going to happen. The question is when, and I definitely don't think it's happening by the end of this year. Honestly, I'd say they'd save it for after, some COVIDs. They're going to save this for when fans can see it.
Yeah.
When they can have some stands, significant stands. I'm not talking 25%. I'm talking 75 or the full-on thing.
Look, there's a major issue with this fight. Major fight issue alert. Because Fury already signed two fights already signed.
No, those aren't signed. Those are not signed. That's not signed. It's agreed. Sir. Terms are agreed upon. It is not a signed deal. Sir. Are you sure?
That's a done deal.
I'm not sure about that.
That is a done deal.
Look,
with 2 fights with Anthony Joshua next year. 2 fights. And that being said, we don't know what's going to happen in those fights. There could be a trilogy. There absolutely could be a trilogy fight with Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. And I believe Fury is done after next year. I don't see much comeback from him after next year at all. Here's the alert. Deontay Wilder is not fought since he lost to Tyson Fury. Just now dumped the management. Never really, in my opinion, agreed to a December 19th fight date, but bullshitted us the whole time. Said, I'm going to get in the ring with Tyson Fury now. I invoked my immediate rematch clause. December 19th date came up with Bob Arum. We heard crickets from Deontay Wilder camp. We haven't heard shit until now, and all we hear is that he fired his manager. There is a big issue with Deontay Wilder right now, whether it be lack of confidence or whatnot. There's a major issue with Deontay Wilder right now, and he's not in nowhere near shape to fight Tyson Fury, not this year or next. And for Fury, he's cashing out very soon.
I mean, I think that's evident, but then again, he didn't have really anything else left to prove other than beating Joshua. I mean, who else does he really need to beat?
All right, guys. So let's turn your attention to the next fight announcement that just recently capped off. We've been talking about this for months now, but it's finally official that we have a date and everything set for Terrence Crawford and Kell Brook. Lucas, last time you said you liked this fight. You still agree?
I mean, I think I said I liked it to a certain degree. It's still a step up for Crawford. Now, would I definitely like to see a bigger step up? Maybe somebody that's even more of a pound for pound? Yeah. I mean, but overall, I think it's a step in the right direction. Also with Brook, I meant with Crawford's selection being so limited to the fighters that he has, available to fight, that's not PBC, and PBC already basically said we're not doing business with him. So I think it's the best of a bad scenario, to be honest with you.
Right. I like it. I think Kell Brook, I find like he's underrated, and he probably was not forced, but he probably took the Golovkin fights and the Errol Spence fights because, the man is being ranked on the top 10, but he haven't been getting these good fights. A lot of people avoided him over there in the UK. I think it's a good test for both. For Terrence Crawford to see he can hang there with a full-blown welterweight, probably I think Brook fought at 154 not too long ago. Mm-hmm. And for Kell Brook to see if he actually can compete at that level. You know what I'm saying? I like it. And like Lucas said, since they both have limited options, well, especially Crawford than Kell Brook. And Kell Brook could have never got the fight with Lucas' best fighter of all time, Amir Khan. So it's I think they both coming into a time where this is the best choice for each other. You know what I'm saying? Now, all of us it's gonna come to a place where we're gonna compare. Because we us boxing fans, even though we like to repeat styles make fight, we also like to compare when one champion fights this guy and then the other champion fights the same guys to see how they do. So since we already saw what Errol Spence did with Kell Brook, we like to see what Crawford can do against Kell Brook. Just like we were talking about not too long ago, oh, Crawford against Spence. Yeah, we like to see the fight, and we're gonna compare. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, what we want Crawford versus Errol Spence. So we are gonna compare, and I'm happy. I think this is a good matchup for both.
Guys, I'm sorry. I don't like it. Hate it. Absolutely hate it. For a fighter like Terrence Crawford to take a step back with a guy like Kell Brook. Now, I know what you're going to say. Why is it a step back? Why? Because when's the last time Kell Brook fought? It's been too damn long. He's not even ranked. And there's a fighter on the ranking on the top 10 that I would rather see him fight. I would rather see him fight Sergey Lipinets.
I mean, his last fight was against Mark DeLuca, which was back in February, actually.
Yeah, he fought this year. I remember because my man Claudio Moreno was in the undercard. He fought Kid Galahad.
Yeah, he fought nobody. He fought a nobody, okay? Period. He fought a nobody. That fight, throw that shit in the garbage. Period.
Right.
He's not ranked top 10. I would rather see him fight Sergey Lipinets. Lipinets is top 10. He's on the come up. He's only had one defeat. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that he's in a network issue to where he can't fight Terrence Crawford. So that's my issue with it right there, is you're only taking on Kell Brook because he has a name just like Amir Khan did. But let's face it, that fight went to shit very quickly. And nobody even remembers it. So you got to have a meaningful fight. Face somebody in the top 10. 10s. I'm begging you. Drop this fight. Face Sergey Lipinets at least. Face somebody in the top 10. Because otherwise, you don't have a shot at getting one of these other guys in the PBC to want to come fight you because they're still going to shit on your name.
Well, Lipinets does have a fight coming up here, actually on the 24th. In the Mohegan Sun Casino, so maybe that could be a reason why. Maybe it's a scheduling conflict. But honestly,
Lucas,
I would put...
He's fighting Kurtarab Akrabal. Literally, that's how you pronounce the name.
But listen.
Who is he?
Do you think Lipinets would beat Brook?
Who is he?
Do you think Lipinets would beat Brook? I think it's equal. I take Brook and Lipinets, honestly, I'd say, as far as competitive-wise, it's the same. Brook's worth more money. Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
No.
And at the end of the day, Rob, what guarantees Crawford that after he beats Lipinets or fights Lipinets,
because he beat somebody possibly in the top 10.
Oh no. Hey, hang on, I gotta address Clarence. Clarence, you stepped out of bounds with this one, buddy. You said this is worse than Canelo versus Khan. No.
Thank you.
No, it is not. At that point in time, correct me if I'm wrong, but Khan was fighting at 140. He gonna move up to what, 155? What they end up fighting at?
155.
So you was have a 140-pound fighter at 150. Man, no, no, just no, Clarence.
Yeah, I mean,
Clarence, I'm with you.
Crawford's not making Brook, blow it up to his weight division.
Right.
Actually, it's Brook that has to come down to 147 because he's been fighting 154, if I'm not mistaken, not too long ago, which I think his last fight was at 147.
But
look, I'm sorry.
I mean, Brook took some shots from Golovkin. I mean, I think it's going to be competitive.
Brook is solid.
Yeah, I don't understand what the hate is, Rob. I just don't see it.
He hasn't fought nobody in a long time. And he's not top 10. Look, he's not top 10. Look, here's Terrence Crawford issue, okay? Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao, Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, you guys, those are all PBC fighters.
Right.
Okay? So he's not going to get them. Then you go Virgil Ortiz, that's DAZN. Jamal James, that's PBC. Then you have Lipinets, all in the top 10. So he's going after Kell Brook because he's going after a name who hasn't fought nobody in a long while. At least take the one person on that top 10 list that you could possibly get. At least make them respect you is all I'm saying.
I think Crawford's in desperate need of a name. I mean, if you look at his previous fights, I mean, yeah, he fought Khan, but that was a joke of a fight. Other than that, he's got some questionable names. Like we talked about, he doesn't build that resume. He has not done what Canelo did and beat a whole bunch of people after their prime. He hasn't gotten really a significant name under his belt. He needs this. He does. He needs that name. This is going to add money for him, and it's going to add more legitimacy. Like, honestly, I'd rather see Brook than Lipinets, so I can't agree with you there, buddy.
That's him, yeah. Or any other fighter that's on this side of the street that's not really gonna test him like that, And Brook is a big guy, skilled guy, so it's gonna be a test for Crawford. A lot of people I don't know just because he's not top 10 anymore because of his losses and he haven't been active like that. But the man has tremendous skills and he hanging there with Golovkin, he hanging there with Spence. He boxed the shit out of Porter. So he can give Crawford all type of troubles. Crawford's not his A game. We just saw the guy, what was the name? I forgot, but I know it's the Mean Machine. He buckled Crawford. Even if Crawford don't want to accept it, even if some fans do not want to acknowledge that, he buckled Crawford on that round. So if he can do that, trust me, Kell Brook has a bigger chance of being able to do that as well.
And he got notoriety because of that. I believe he has a fight showcase coming up on ESPN or something like that soon off of that fight. But all he's doing is building notoriety off of Cropper's name. Cropper's not building notoriety off of nobody.
True.
Let's move on, though. Let's end on a high note. Lucas, let's go to the tweet of the week.
All right. We're not able to stay with us, so I'm going to take over tweet of the week in her name. The WC, I can't talk. See, I already fucked it up. The WBC have once again pushed back purse bids for Canelo versus Yildirim for their vacant WBC super middleweight title. Delay this time is 15 days. WBC add that they'll use this time to review the division and make a final decision on what to do if this fight doesn't happen. And that's from Michael Benson.
What a names.
Man.
Basically, they're saying that they're going to give this man more time based on what's going on with the court situation, the network, because they're pushing for that fight. Because that's what Canelo wants. So what they're doing, they're giving the man what he's asking for, what he's demanding. The WBC is like, your wish is my command, Mr. Canelo. So whatever you want. Oh, you need more time? Here, you get it. Because I'm sure if it was somebody else, they'd be like, you know what? Forget it. Let's move on. Let's do this. Let's do that. But since it's Canelo, and they're pretty much Canelo's, excuse my language, bitches, they're playing by Canelo's rules. Now, who the care? Since we're talking about these fights that we don't want to see, who the hell want to see Canelo against that Yildirim guy? No disrespect to him. No disrespect to that guy. But who the hell wants to see Canelo against somebody that's not really known like that? When you
Yildirim. I mean, yeah, he's coming off a loss. Look, you're the face of boxing. You shouldn't be fighting anybody coming off a loss. Now, Floyd Mayweather did pick some people that were questionable at times. Robert Guerrero, I was like, man, that's an easy fight for him. But see, Berto made Robert Guerrero look like a decent fight for Mayweather. But in all reality, it was not. He uses public perception to be like, man, this guy, a lot of people think that this guy's going to have a chance, but Canelo we already are like, Yildirim? No. I mean, nobody's even thinking that Yildirim has a chance. Nobody wants to see that, and definitely nobody should be saying it for a title. I mean, it's insulting to boxing fans, but it's insulting to your own ranking system because Number one, Canelo just says, hey, I'm going to fight for this title, and you're going to allow me, and you're just like, yep, you can do that.
Yep.
Come on, man. And this is the thing, like, everybody wants to give Lomachenko a lot of crap, but look, this dude, since he's a pro, has been fighting, but nothing but actual legit fights. This dude don't take tune-up fights. He should be the face of boxing. It makes more sense to me. But Canelo is in it for the money. That is clear.
I mean, just for the simple fact that Yoderim isn't really even ranked in the division until Canelo mentioned his name. Yeah, that's the issue. That's the issue.
Canelo is controlling the sport, and that's not how it's supposed to be. That's the severe problem. I mean, so, yeah, you test positive for a banned substance. What do? They slap him on the wrist, right? And now they're like, you know what? You can have a little bit of said substance. You can have a little bit.
That was the biggest insult to us fans when not only they
not even fans but other fighters, Javi.
Yes, like not only they didn't let him slide, but they actually changed the whole rule to where like, okay, well now if you have 0.3, you're good. It's okay. But they changed that based on the face of boxing. Like, damn, man, you're literally bending over for this man. Damn.
I kind of want the U.S. government to step in, kind of like what they did for baseball and all the steroid scandal. I would love for them to step in. I think there's a lot of crooked stuff going on. Oh. Now, of course, I can't say for sure, but we all talked about a woman that tested positive in a very weird scenario. And I'm still writing it. I'm trying to get some more information. I've reached out to other drug testing agencies to see the possibility of said result, and honestly, no one will answer me back. I know it's probably weird context, but no one will respond to me. I've reached out to multiple drug agencies, so keep on the lookout for that. But honestly, I'm just trying to legitify her. I mean, one of two things, like I said, would come true. Either she is legit, like, hey, this happened, because I don't think anybody believes it. I know I don't, but I don't think a lot of other people do either, and this would at least clear her name, On the other hand, if it's not clear, I don't want her fighting. I don't want her representing the United States fighting in the Olympics.
Yeah.
I don't.
Not only that, but look what just happened to this other guy. I don't know if we gave the proper attention. This guy popped out positive, I don't know how many times, where now he's blaming it into some penis enlargement pills. I'm talking about...
Chisora? Or wait, who is that? Miller. Miller. Yeah. Big Baby Miller, yeah.
So it's like, because...
I think he piggybacked off her. He realized, like, man, it's a touchy subject. So I'm going to go with, like, penis pills or something weird, I don't know.
Man, that's the funny things that you see in the sport that, it kind of drives the fans away, because it's like, people don't want to see that. And some people is like, oh, who cares? But all right, you probably don't care. But you have somebody there that probably can be hurt permanently because of somebody cheating or trying to get the easy way out.
I mean, look, the average person, yeah, they may not double think about what they're doing. So like a pill, get a bigger dick, whatever, you take it. But as a pro fighter, Javi, and I know you know this, you're like, what's in that pill?
Yeah.
That's going to cause me a big payday loss.
Yeah.
That is your job. What goes into you is your job. So you can't tell me the Big Baby Miller didn't be like, what's in this? Especially after testing positive multiple times, because he's blaming it on multiple tests, right? Multiple different positives. Yeah. Come on, man. You would have realized that at least after the first test, if not before the first test.
Me personally, I'm going with Mexican meat every single time. That's my go-to.
That's not
every
true.
Single time right now. Well, I had a meat in Mexico. It was Mexican meat. They putting steroids in them cows down south. All right, guys, let's end this one on a high note. I got a good one for y'all with eye candy of the week. Cue it up, Lucas.
What's up?
So the challenge was to get a female boxer that is ranked up there with Clarissa Shields. So this that my viewers right now are viewing right now is actually a body issue from ESPN. This is the lovely Jessica Bopp. Full name is Jessica Yolanda Bopp. She is an Argentinian boxer. She is a 2-division world champion. She held the WBA female light flyweight title since 2008, and previously the WBO light flyweight title from 2009 and 2013, and also had the WBO flyweight title in 2014. Right now, guys, she is ranked as of today as the world's best active female light flyweight champion by the Ring and Boxing Bracket. Also, she is number 7 on the top pound for pound female list. With that being said, though, guys, she has 36 fights, 37 total, only 1 defeat. And that 1 defeat came all the way back in 2013. If you see it on the screens, this woman is both beautiful, flamboyant, tough, but she's a winner.
Okay, so I gotta admit, I kind of gave my wife a preview for Eye Candy of the Week, and she was like, "What you guys doing now, porn?"
So if you're tuning in for the first time, the ESPN does a body issue. And the reason why they do it is because there's beauty behind the athlete's body. And if you look at the fine tunes of this female, you can see the art. There is art in body. There is called body art. But you also can see the athleticism in her. And she's not the tallest. And that's why I wanted to feature her in this. She's not at all the tallest, strongest, built like T-Rex Clarissa Shields. But she does have the art, the skill, the talent. Guys, she has 37 fights and only 1 loss. The number 7 ranked female fighter, but she's still active. And she has a lot to go. She's a young fighter. We talked about Sergio Martinez. This could be the female version.
Clarence says, "Jeesh TKO." Now I gotta say something about this because I've honestly thought a long time about nixing this segment. I mean, at times it does seem a little creepy, especially if you're new to the show. But we allow Sakura to have the male version of Eye Candy of the Week. Dalia Duran apparently likes the Eye Candy of the Week. So that's what really decided my deciding factor to keep it. I don't know. There's times where I'm like, man, this gets a little weird, but I'm backing you on this one, Rob.
Thank you, Lucas. That's his disclaimer, by the way, which he loves to give. However, it's important to really visualize. And again, the reason why I'm bringing this to the forefront is because of the athleticism and the art. There's art in boxing. We call it the sweet science for a reason.
And Rob, next time let me know a little bit ahead of time, and I can actually tag fighters. So I can be like, hey, you're our Eye Candy of the Week. But I don't know, that might be a little weird too. Let's give it a shake. I don't know.
I honestly think if she was to reach out to me, I would have a date tomorrow. But anyway.
Oh man.
That is all I got for
you. Are we
doing
anything for Rapid Fire or no?
We passed that segment.
No.
We passed that by far. It's 10:41, y'all.
All right.
I do. If you have anything, and our viewers, if you're still out there, if you have anything, let me know. But I do want to know, guys, what's the greatest fight you've ever saw?
Greatest fight?
Greatest fight you've seen. TV, live, anything. Greatest fight you've ever seen.
Wow, that's a great question. I actually have a question for you guys too.
It's hard. I probably go Castillo Corrales, but I don't know.
Why, Lucas?
Just the emotion behind it, the comeback win. I mean, oh man, love that fight.
And tell us, how long have you been watching this sport?
Oh man, I don't know. I was little. When I was little, my dad really wasn't into boxing, but he knew that me and my brother, loved to watch it. So I'd be begging him to, put on Tyson pay-per-views when I was little. So watch the whole.
I thought you would have went a different direction, but I like that.
A personal favorite that probably doesn't hit a lot of other people for me was Kirkland and Gulo. No sweet science, just straight, war for a very little bit of time there. The first man, I'm gonna come back to me. I'll get it in a second.
Javi?
I'm gonna go with
Rio Salvarado won. There you go. Sorry.
That was a good one, Lucas. Yeah. I'm gonna go with Gotti versus Ward, and the first one. But all three of them were freaking legendary fights.
Of course, those two, yeah.
But yeah, man, just the ability of this guy to just take pain, willing to throw a broken hand, willing to just, how he got up from that body shot, wicked body shot. Like, this guy was, in a way, it might sound messed up. In a way, I'm glad that he's, resting in peace, because I think with all the wars that he had, he probably would have been one of those damaged fighters that wouldn't be, with all his faculties after boxing. He went to too many wars, but God damn, I never seen somebody that's just, willing to bleed out in that arena like that, like Gotti. And how long I've been watching the sport, man, a lot. My father used to watch a lot of Chavez. His favorite fighter was Roberto Duran. So I've been watching boxing for a long time, ever since I can remember. That's probably the reason why I went on and competed on combat sports and everything. So this is not something that just started 5-10 years ago. I would say probably 20-25 years ago.
Lucas, that's what I thought you would go for, was Gotti Ward, because you love those trilogies. You did.
I do love.
Guys, I've been watching sports ever since I was.
Yeah.
Or the sport of boxing, I've been watching ever since I was little. My dad made me grow up on it. That being said, the greatest fight he showed me that I've ever seen, because to me, it was individually the greatest showing I've ever seen on any boxer, was Ali Foreman in the rope-a-dope. I've never seen anything ever in my life like that, with a man physically getting beat up to a pulp on the ropes and then coming off and putting on that type of performance. That was the greatest performance I've ever seen. The greatest fight I've ever seen was Castillo Corrales. That fight will never be duplicated. Never. Because of the drama. And when I say that, it reminded, this fight this past weekend, guys, reminded me a lot of it. And I felt like it was going in that direction without the knockout. And I feel like Corrales and Castillo were both kind of knocked out a couple of times in that fight and still got up to carry on. That performance right there, I've never seen two individuals carry that amount of drama and that amount of willpower in a ring before in my life. I literally think they thought somebody should have died that night.
Clarence says Holyfield versus Bo, Ward versus Gotti, all three.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, I just had a question. I know probably we're going to touch on this next week, and we should. But we know boxing porn is coming. Teofimo Lopez against the god Vasily Lomachenko. Now, we don't know who's going to win. It's pretty good, a good matchup. I'm pretty sure. I'm not asking you who you expecting to win. I'm asking you, if Lomachenko wins, who you would like him to go against next, or if Lopez wins, who would you like him to face next? Gotcha. Cool, huh?
Man.
Gotcha.
I mean, the problem is I don't think I've looked past this fight so far. It's
True.
it's such a good fight that I'm not even thinking about what's next. And
That's how good
honestly,
of a fight it is.
yeah, I mean that's how good it is. And I know we were talking off camera about the whole. It's not going to be pay-per-view, and that's even more amazing. I think fights like this need to be on ESPN, need to be on like a Fox, something that is available for everybody. It's definitely good for the sport. But if I had to say who I want him to fight next, that would be the winner of also a fight coming up, which would be Gervonta Davis and Leo Santa Cruz.
And that's a great question, and absolutely. And I'm just gonna say it right now, Tank. I want to see him fight Tank. Period.
I mean, he can fight Tank, win or lose. Even if Tank loses, yes. I mean, that's a sellable fight. It's going to be an exciting fight regardless. But I want to see the winner. I think Rob's basically saying Tank's going to win already. But I'm not going to jump to that conclusion. That's all I'm saying.
And let me just say this, guys. If it's not that, we really need to see Barenchyk move up. We really do. And if not Tank, I want to see Barenchyk move up. Now, granted, he might need a fight or two. He probably just needs one fight at 135. But I want to see Barenchyk move up. And that, to me, will be the best fight in between those two divisions, will be Barenchyk and Lomachenko.
Okay. But I think Barenchyk is fighting Valdez, though, which that's a great fight as well.
Yeah.
He's fighting
Oscar Valdez, no?
TBA. It's still to be announced.
Man, that's crazy. All right, fellas. I think we came to the end of the show. Yeah. I just wanted to say a few words for our colleague Sakura. She's dealing with some situations with the family. We've been doing this. We share laughs, we share moments, we share this talk about boxing and everything. But at the end of the day, we all got our situations. I just wanted to tell her that we with you, the whole team, heavy boxing team, and we got your back. Hopefully everything goes good with your family. I know you're going through some situation. We're here for you. And guys, have a good night. You know what I'm saying? Well, like I said, we all have these shares of this life, but sometimes we have to share the good moments and the bad moments as well. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes a group, a family, a bond.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak enough for how proud I am of everybody here that works at Heavy Bag Boxing. We are a little family, Love you, Sakura. I hope everything's all right.
Right.
Robert Alexander, Lucas Biggers, Hobby, and Shakura is Heavy Bag